Close your wallets. That's what this wonderful woman said. Close your wallets. And she's correct. Close your wallets. Your kids have enough pads and games and toys and junk. And you need to talk to your kids so they can be part of the team. Billie Eilish, I'm probably mispronouncing Eilish, donated $11 million, 1/3 of her wealth, to feed starving people. The Heretic Cafe in Portland, Oregon, somebody, again, when you think you're not important, I'm going to challenge you on that. When you think you don't have shit to say, a comment on the Heretic Cafe that said that they were going to offer SNAP benefits starting November 1st said, why don't you post a link for donations? And the donations came from all over the world: South Africa, UK. I'm shocked, UK. I'm shocked you give a shit. That's good. But kudos to you. Must have been UK, the citizens, certainly not the system. And in other countries that we would consider third world, care more about their Americans than American corporations. Close your fucking wallets. Give to small business owners. Only buy from small business owners. If you must buy, then make sure you search out small business owners on Etsy, on Poshmarks, single mothers, young women, men trying to just fucking make a living, selling what they got to make their rent. Okay? And at that point, yeah, buy your cashmere sweater from a Poshmark girl that's trying to pay her fucking car note. Or maybe buying cat food. I've had a friend once who was broke for 2 weeks. She had no money. And her concern was to make sure her cat ate. She was concerned that her cat would eat. Starvation and poverty is not what you think. This particular woman, highly educated, going to college for the highest degree, master's degree in social services, psychology, to no fault of her own, because things have doubled, tripled, quadrupled. No fault of her own. She's not lazy. And the fact that we shame SNAP, a man with an autistic child, another child, and his wife who was actually pursuing her PhD, they were making $60,000 a year. They qualified for SNAP benefits. A white man. He said, you don't expect a man that looks like me to be on SNAP. But we were on SNAP. And we thought that 60,000 should be enough. And honestly, it should be for all of us to be, but a family of 4 is a whole different situation, especially if you've ever had a child on the autism spectrum or ADHD or any child that needs special things. They sometimes need special foods, gluten-free. They need special vitamins. They need special appointments with holistic healers. Do you understand? And it's out of pocket because, our great fine insurance doesn't cover it because it's a pre-existing condition, or they just don't cover it. Period. Okay? So the parent is being punished a few times because their child came out neurodivergent. And again, these children are some of the most brilliant, powerful souls. And we must protect them at all costs. But that's on a side note. So the Heretic Cafe in Portland, Oregon raised $200,000. And so the story goes, and I reposted this from this incredible young woman who was righteously angry, who discussed hunger because, again, Meals on Wheels is no longer, as you know. We were feeding the elderly and bringing meals to them and to other families, not just the elderly, but mostly to the elderly. These are the most impacted because, as a person rightly said, it was a wellness check. Are you alive? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Do you need anything? Now they're up a stream without a paddle. But anyway, so this one person said on the comment of the Heretic Cafe on their Snap breakfast, why don't you just post a link for donations? And the owner of the cafe said, that's a good idea, and did. And within hours, they had $10,000. They were in shock. A small child came up to their counter before November 1st, requesting a Snap breakfast, and of course, received it. And I don't know why we think that SNAP is enough anyway. It isn't, actually. SNAP keeps people from starving. It is important, and people who are on SNAP usually also need to add to their food pantry by going to food banks, churches, charities, and so forth. I was listening to, well, not listening, I was remembering the story of the Little Match Girl. Believe it or not, it was considered a Christmas story. It was written by Hans Christian Andersen in 1846. And it's about a little girl, she's probably 7 or 8, who lost her grandma. And it's winter, it's Christmas Eve. And she's out there trying to sell matches for money. Just any coinage would do, right? And she can't sell them. People ignore her. And she's got a thin shawl, slippers, no socks. And she's cold. And she's terrified of going back home to her father because he might beat her because she didn't sell any matches. And she keeps herself warm by striking the match against, she's found a wall, she's like leaning up against the wall from the brutal cold, the brutal wind, because it's nighttime. And whenever she strikes a match, she sees these images of food and warmth, a fireplace. She sees her grandmother. And every match, she's got like 30 matches, and finally one match after another. And it's a breeze of warmth, just for a minute, not even. And she ends up, of course, freezing to death. This was Hans Christian Andersen. This was a fairy tale. 1846. Nothing's changed. We just have new clothes. We have electricity. But people who can't afford electricity or who can't afford X, Y, and Z are freezing to death in the winter every year. And why am I telling you all this sad story? Because I'm not here as a spiritualist to always give you all the good news is this. We have to keep forging ahead to 5D. Because you have to understand, when Billie Eilish said in her whatever award-winning moment where she accepted an award, Mark Zuckerberg was in the crowd, a fucking multi times over multi-billionaire. And we have trillionaires walking around the planet. Who could end the suffering of the planet with one fucking check? One check. And they still would be trillionaires. Or they still would be billionaires. She took 1/3 of her wealth, $11 million, and did exactly that. And how it will be dispersed, how it will be funded, I don't know. I hope to God she didn't send it to some of these supposed nonprofits who are fucking pariahs, part of the machine. But what's happening is, again, as I've said again and again, that it is a moment of us drawing the conclusion, right, that we need each other, regardless of race, gender. I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans. I am so sick of these fucking conversations. To me, you're a fucking human being. Okay? As long as we don't harm kids, okay, we're good to go. As long as you're not harming animals, we're good to go. Do you understand? We're good to go. That's it. I don't care who you're fucking. I don't care how you're doing it. I don't care if you need to wear high heels to get it. I don't give a fuck what you do. Don't push your shit on kids. That's it. We're good. Okay? I don't care if you're heterosexual. I don't care. Leave the kids the fuck alone. That's it. We're good. We're good. It is so simple. It's not something to debate. I'm sick of people debating basic human tenements of fucking civility. I'm sick of people debating about human rights. There are 4 aspects of human rights: shelter, food, water, clean water, and the right to pray to whoever the fuck you want to pray to, as long as you don't harm kids. Do you understand? It's simple fucking shit. It doesn't matter. Pray to Allah, pray to Buddha, pray to Krishna, pray to Shiva, pray to your Christian God. It's only one God anyway. This is why I call God the one. I don't even call God. I say one of 1,000 names, the one who created us all, because there are names we don't even remember. That's how dumb it is to say, my God, not your God. If you pray to my God, you'll be saved. If you pray to your God, you're going to go to hell and damnation. I am so sick of this stupid shit that has created this brilliant divide and conquer situation that we are now trying to literally hack ourselves out of. Hacking. We're all hackers of the 3D brain that has been co-opted by certain nefarious forces. Whatever you believe that is, enjoy. You're right. Whatever that is, you're probably right. But how to get out of it? See, at this point now, I don't even care how we got there. I don't care how we got here anymore. I care how do we get the fuck out of this situation. That's what I care about. How do we hack out of our brainwashing? How do we hack out of the Stockholm Syndrome? Because, my dear friends, we are all under the yoke of the Stockholm Syndrome. What does that mean? Well, we've been kidnapped by nefarious forces to become their new types of... We're in bondage. And our autonomy lies in the way we can think in infinite ways and construct, architect, build communities. It comes down to communities again and again and again. Communities. We need each other. And the Heretic Cafe in Portland, Oregon showed how one person came up with the idea in a comment. Why don't you set up a link so people can donate? Oh, good idea. And boom, 200 grand in less than 2 weeks. And the reason why they pull out the call, right? We're going to give you Snap breakfast. Just ask Snap breakfast. No questions asked. You order what you want. We will serve you. Is because they wanted people to know we're here. You know, and this kid right before going to school asked for a Snap breakfast because they were hungry. Breakfast at school is a joke, and I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact because I had a French friend who got her teaching degree and went to one of the worst ghettos in LA, Los Angeles, because that's what they do with teachers. The first thing you do is you go to the worst fucking places before you're able to choose where you want to go after a year or two. Okay? That's the protocol. And she had these kids they were coming to school starving because the breakfast for whatever the fuck it's called, kids breakfast at school, it usually takes 6 to 8 weeks before it kicks in. And I used to ask her, I don't understand, don't they do this every year on the same date? Yeah. So why does it take 6 to 8 weeks to kick in? They know it's every year. They know school starts on this day. Why does it? She goes, I don't know. So she would go to Costco and buy Lunchables at the tune of, I think it was like $1,200 to $1,300. By the way, she never got the money back, just so you know. And she would slam it on her credit card, and they would go to Mrs. C's class has food. So they never cut her class. By the way, she taught art. And they would all come to her class knowing they were going to have a meal. That was probably going to be the only meal they had. This was in 1998. To give you a date. It was actually 1998. And eventually, She ended up, the irony of ironies, going to a former high school I used to go to, traveling from Highland Park all the way to Pacific Palisades, which would take her 90 minutes one way. She'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go teach there. And the difference of her teaching art in that charter school was, it was like a new world to her. So why am I sharing all this? Well, because it's all in 1846, The Little Match Girl. 1846, I forgot Oliver Twist when that came out. Nicholas Nickleby, Les Miserables, all in the 1870s during the Industrial Revolution. 1800s, late 1800s, mid 1800s. While people were doing Absinthe in 1877, thereabouts, when Rimbaud, Arthur Rimbaud was writing his poetry, which was brilliant, while he was trying to be okay with being a gay man in a world that was massively patriarchal and starving, a starving poet, but still writing. And his mentor, lover, was Verlaine, one of the great romantic poets of the era. People were writing about people starving, selling their bodies, selling their hair, selling their teeth, selling anything they had to eat or to make sure their kids ate. I think this is the first time, because you see people reading these books, right? Jane Austen, right? The workhouses. The way children were treated, Oliver Twist. May I have another bowl? May I have more, sir? I don't know if you remember that line. May I have more, sir? More? Gruel. They were feeding these babies gruel. Shit. Porridge. Whatever And I think these books were being sold by a certain type of, certain people could read and certain people could buy books. Not everyone could buy a book. But we have this social media, which they're telling me is a temporary communication tool, and eventually something else will come up that's even better than this. It will not harm the system, AI is draining water left and right. So I stopped using it for one reason. Now that's the second reason, just so you know. But we are being shown things in a mass level of absorption, in a mass scale of consciousness shift that we've never, as human beings in 3D planet Earth, have ever experienced before. That's why it ends. It ends. It ends because it must end, because it is unjust. It is cruel, it is wrong, and it is actually by design. It does not need to continue. And because it is our time. The meek shall inherit the earth. The meek. Can you imagine that word, those motherfuckers? Why would you use the word meek, you fucks? You mean the good, the empaths, the loyal, the devoted, the Mbutu generation, the rainbow children, the Hopi prophecy will inherit the earth. Yeah, that's it. And that's what's happening. And it's happening now. And Heretic Cafe, and that's what's happening. And it's happening now. And Heretic Cafe and other places all over the world. My question to Starbucks is, why don't you offer Snap breakfast, Starbucks? If you've ever read the book about how Starbucks was taken over by the guys who originally owned it and bought Peet's Coffee, just so you know, like, I forgot the book's name, but I read it in the 90s, and I was like, oh, so fucking, I was against the mermaid a long time ago because of how he did it. And I don't give money to people who do nefarious shit to people who are just fucking innocent, naive, or whatever. So the guys who originally owned the Little Mermaid, the Green Mermaid, your cup, ended up buying Peet's, and the guy was Dutch, and he had originally taught them how to roast coffee. By the way, it's better coffee anyway, Peet's. But why aren't those companies doing it? That includes Peet's, by the way. Why aren't you doing Snap breakfast? What, you're either pro-human rights or you're not. I forgot the guy's name with Ben and Jerry's, but he had to leave because apparently they didn't think his stance on X, Y, and Z, human rights, was a good idea for the company. It was taking us in the wrong direction. So you must leave. Who does that remind you of? That reminds me of Steve Jobs when they kicked him out of Apple. A hostile takeover with Steve Jobs, and he fucking, when a person can thrive, they thrive anywhere, and he did. And then he came back and fucking kicked ass. I know the guy who did the whole advertising campaign on the iPhone 4. And that whole movement. But I mean, would Steve Jobs take his billions and say, let me give $1 billion to offshoot, this incredible disruption of just even a small amount of food for people everywhere in the world? I had a friend of mine, and I said this before, but I'm going to say it today. He was an elderly man, and he was homeless. Okay? And Snap gave him $48 a month because they figure, well, you don't have rent to pay. You're homeless. You're fine. That was a logic. But then some Snap was used and has saved people's very lives. And so this man who has the autistic child, whose wife ended up starting a business, and they didn't need it anymore, and they were making like $200,000 a year, and that only lasted like about 2 years because their business was basically cannibalized by other corporations, and cuts were made, many cuts, and they're back in the shithole because they were relying on, even though they had their own business, they were relying on the system. Do you understand? The machine. And ultimately, there's a lot of things I would love to talk, and I think I've been talking about for a while, but you're going to have to excuse me. I'm a human being having a human experience. And I've been talking about having the podcast, and I need to figure out how to fucking do it because there's shit I need to start talking about that's important. And it's important for you to hack out of your consciousness of the impossible when you think that you as a one human being cannot do anything. This person commented, why don't you put a link, and changed Heretic Cafe at the tune of $200,000 so they can actually give food to their community. Homeless people can go and get at least a good warm breakfast in their belly and a hot cup of coffee. I remember, and I don't want people, the homelessness has absolutely exploded after the lockdowns. The lockdowns created a situation that was absolutely disgusting. The $1,200 checks that some of you got, right? You got maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know how, I forgot what was going on, but maximum 3, okay? There's no way you were going to pay your rent with that if you could no longer work, if you lost your job, if you were a waitress or a busboy or whatever the hell you were doing, you were going to lose your job, okay? And waitress or a busboy or whatever the hell you were doing, you were going to lose your job, okay? And during that same time, I'll never forget, I saw a small video, and I started fact-checking that New Zealand, some people were getting $2,500 a month, and that would definitely cover your fucking rent. No matter where you live in the world, that would cover your rent. So you were never going to be homeless. Food, you had to hustle. Your cell phone, you probably had to hustle. But that was covered. You were going to at least have a roof over your head. The homeless explosion that occurred is unbelievable, unimaginable. I remember, I'm trying to remember what year it was. Hang on, 2019. I'm in Berkeley, California, 2019. There's a Whole Food there. Okay, obviously, there's a Whole Food everywhere. But anyway, there's a Whole Food there. And I was actually going there. And and many of you who live in Berkeley will know exactly what I'm talking about. On the right-hand side was a block. And it went 2 blocks, 3 blocks. And on either side were caravans, trucks, tents. People were homeless living on either. I swear to God, it was like, I don't know how people who live there, who actually had a house there, were handling it. But they were homeless people living. You would see tents in little circles right in Berkeley, swear to God, which is a college town, university town. And people were literally circling their tents for protection and living on the streets. This is 2019. So this is pre-COVID. So it's already beginning, right? And then by the time COVID was loosening its tight fist on us, I'd say 2022, 2023, now I'm living in Sacramento, and I'm seeing a fucking half a mile of caravans, broken down caravans, cars, tents, barbecue pits, homelessness. Half a mile. I know, because we'd recorded driving and it went on, and it seemed to never end. To no fault of their own. That's the sign of a broken system. There's a lack of kindness and generosity that I don't know where it went. I'm in shock sometimes. I'm in shock. Like, what in the fuck is going on? And when people point to Republican and Democratic Party, I hate people who do that, because you know what? Why am I telling you these stories? Because it didn't matter who was in office, it was happening. In 1980, hang on, I'll give you the date. In 1988, going into 1989, but in 1988, in San Francisco, on Cole Valley, on Haight Street, I'll never forget walking by a woman in her 30s, I was in my early 20s, with 2 kids, and I gave her a $20 bill. Now today I realize that's $100. 20s, with 2 kids, and I gave her a $20 bill. Now today I realize that's $100, maybe even more. I don't know, but I gave her $20. When I came back from my errands on Haight-Ashbury, she was back in that same fucking corner, and there was a burrito shop that was amazing, and you could get a burrito, like a fully loaded chicken burrito, for like $3.84 or something like that. Fully loaded, massive, the size of your fucking forearm, you know, that kind of thing. And there they were, sitting there eating. There were always homeless people on Union Square, right outside Macy's, Neiman Marcus, right before the 1989 earthquake. You'd see them all the time. And many of us would have lunch, and we would get extra, or, you know, to go, and then hand it to the homeless, and they would eat. They would never say, you know, fuck off. They were always hungry. So that's in the 80s. Sales girls, shop girls like me, because I was just a little kid. I was a shop girl. Would go to the hot dog stand, seeing a homeless man, woman, child, whatever, right? Child, teenagers, lots of teenagers, and say, what do you want? And stand right there, pay for it, make sure they got it, and then went back to work. People making minimum wage, helping the homeless, helping those who were hungry. Minimum fucking wage in those days was $4 and some cents. Okay? And my point is, when you think it is worse, but when you think it was better, no, it wasn't. It was not. Okay? I think in Europe it was different, because I remember the homeless situation in Paris, and we would call them les clochards, which I won't translate because it's not exactly kind, but it's not a put down either, and you can't translate the word clochard. But it was usually people, usually men, to be honest, probably from the wars, World War II, or Algerian War, okay, who just didn't want to be in the system anymore. They weren't lazy. They just didn't, they opted out of society. And they would get, you know, baguettes and ham sandwiches and a bottle of wine. I kid you not. And they would be helped out. No one judged them in that way. At least I never saw that. I'm sure they were, because there's cruelty in everyone. But there was some level of understanding and non-judgment. No one said they had mental health issues. People just thought they don't want to be, they opted out of society. But I saw it through the eyes and the lens of a child, don't forget. So I could be naive, to be fair. But what I saw coming back here, I'm 1976, and I said this to you before, I'm at Pacific Palisades. I'm taking the school bus, and I think I'm coming home from school, and I see an old man on a bench in Pacific Palisades eating from a can of dog food. I was in shock. Absolute tore me up. So, you know, what am I saying here? I'm saying it's not working. And it's come to a point of such extreme, egregious harm to people who really don't deserve to go through this, that it is the tipping point. And I feel as if maybe the Industrial Revolution was the time when it was really also this, maybe as bad as this. And maybe we should learn our history and understand what we're being told. Or maybe we don't need to look at history. Maybe me telling you just this, like I'm brushing over a lot of shit. Seriously, surface horror, okay? But it's enough for us to know that we don't need to continue. That this road is a dead-end street. And that we are not going to go off the cliff. And that community is our only way. And we are being corralled to that decision. And people who talk about, bootstrap theory bullshit, I'll never forget the New Deal, Roosevelt's New Deal, the New Deal with America. The deal was, we're going to build roads, you're all going to work, and we're going to be okay. But the bootstrap theory did not work. It didn't work. People need a hand up. Sometimes people just need a fucking hot shower and a bowl of soup and bread and a shave, or getting their hair washed and cut. How many times have you seen homeless people being transformed and how their face lights up to recognize themselves back in the mirror? I saw a guy, beautiful man actually, missing 2 front teeth, but he could have been a model, probably was in a fist fight. And the guy asked him, why are you here? And he said, I lost my 5-year-old boy. And he started fucking sobbing. And the guy asked him, do you have family? Yes. However he lost that child, he could not get over it. He just couldn't. And he probably needed just fucking rest. And I've been telling you guys again and again that we need, in community, we would have certain people who just need to fucking rest. All they need are books, tea, love, food, non-judgment, a hammock, and rest. In fact, some of us need that now. But people would start healing on their own. It would be an organic healing. And what I mean on their own is meaning they would not be pushed to heal. Do you realize we have a 3-day grief period? If you lose your mother, your husband, God forbid your child, you have 3 days to grieve, and your ass better be back at work. That's not grieving. That's not kind. And that's not right. So, Billie Eilish, $11 million, God bless you. 11 million. And there is a man out there, because they're mostly men, and you're sitting on probably $30 billion. You're sitting on it. You're sitting on it, and you're threatening your kids that they won't inherit any of it. You're one of these motherfuckers. Like, I call you out. If each of these billionaires could write a check for $1 billion, the whole thing would shift and transform damn near fucking within 30 days. 30 days, we would live in utopia. But we have sadists. We do. We have people who are sadistic, psychopathic, malignant narcissists who hold the line. Which is interesting because it's based on how we consume. Isn't that funny? It's so simple. You don't have to consume. You really don't. If you are a meat eater, go and look for a ranch that will ship your fucking meat to you directly. Okay? I'm not telling you not to eat meat. I'm telling you how to get meat. Good meat from a farmer, from people who depend on what you consume from them. There's a particular ranch apparently that employs 64 cowboy families. And I would say to you, go find that ranch. I don't know the name of the ranch, but there are ranches all over this country. Go find who is not going through the machine. Find black ranches, find white ranches. I don't give a fuck what color they are. By the way, on a side note, a Chinese billionaire bought 28,000 acres of beautiful land that he is actually using for wildlife conservation. So it's not a race thing, is it? To give a fuck about the planet for people who are racist and who think that immigrants have nothing to bring. Technically, he's an immigrant who saw the beautiful wildlife of upstate New York, bought a huge tract of it to conserve it. So there's your argument on immigration, when every single human being here, unless you're Native American, an indigenous person, you're a fucking immigrant. Oh, I was born here. Yes, but your parents weren't, or your grandparents weren't, your great-grandparents weren't, okay? And everything we bring because of our collective melting pot, beautiful points of views, and how we see things that other people don't see. My father fought in World War II and got a Purple Heart, a Silver Star. He lost a testicle for the fucking country. Okay? He was told he'd never have kids. And I know he didn't fucking fight for this shit. Not at all. He fought for freedom of speech, human rights. Obviously. He was in Dachau, one of the concentration camps. He was there, delivering those people out of hell. So, with all our generations and our bloodlines that we embody today, you know, I embody a couple different lineages of bloodlines, DNA-wise. And so do you. And for the first time in the human history, not since Atlantis had its golden age, not since Lemuria had its golden age, and beyond that on other planets, have we ever seen the horror to right the wrongs. The reason why you're seeing what you're seeing is to right the wrongs. And when you think that you can't do shit, that little comment earned this cafe $200,000 to give $200,000 worth of food to their local people who are fucking hungry. And it always, always, always impacts children and women and old people, old men and women. And men, especially the boomers, are too prideful, too self-sufficient in their own minds, even though their bodies are no longer... In other words, you can have an 80-year-old body and still feel like you're 18. Did you know that? You'll know that when you get older, if you are blessed to get older. But you forget that your knees creak and you can barely fucking walk a half block without losing your breath and leaning your head against the wall of some building. That you need food delivered to your house. That you probably need someone to cook it for you, because even cooking, just 2 fried eggs and some bacon is fucking blowing you out. Like you're fucking nervous, you're blown out. And we need to understand that as a people. That's why we need communities to help. And we need to understand that as a people. That's why we need communities to help. I forgot where, I think it's Denmark, could be Sweden, I have no fucking idea. One of these countries is much more progressive than us. You can rent an old person. That's how they respect the elders. Right now, by the way, they're selling all of us, in this country in particular, the boomer war. I'm going to call it the boomer war. And yeah, do we have boomers that are assholes? We've always had assholes. It doesn't. We have assholes in the Millennium group. We have assholes in the Gen X group, and whatever fucking other generations you want to name and fucking tag. We have assholes. They come in all colors, races, and genders. Some of them are gay. Some of them are straight. Some of them like to wear dresses and high heels. Some of them like to shave their head off. We have assholes. Doesn't matter how old they are. Doesn't matter what generation they come from or what languages they speak or don't speak. We have assholes. And amongst that, we have incredible people of light. And amongst those people of light, they've always known the system was broken. But they were talking underwater. In fact, they were yelling underwater. Many of them dropped their bodies in the last recent years because it was too painful to keep yelling underwater. And some of them were boomers, and some of them were pre-boomers, and some of them were post-boomers. It isn't working. It's not working. And for you boomers who are talking shit to the young starseeds who are in their 20s, saying they're lazy like Whoopi Goldberg, you fucking piece of shit. When you were fucking making money, you could buy a house for $9,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 right here in the East Coast. You could buy a 50-acre farm with a house that was not fucking falling apart for $20,000. You fuck. Now you can't touch a house like that unless you're sitting on 300 grand. And the kids don't want to be a part of this shit because they know it's wrong. And they're not going to work and work and work and work 3 jobs and be tied to work, and their whole life is work. They don't want to do it. That's not laziness. That's called intelligence. That's called self-love. It's called self-advocacy. It's called they're fighting for their own human rights to have a fucking life. Oh, we're not having kids anymore. No person with a brain will have a child right now. No one would even dare attempt in this fucking framework, these 4 walls that are trying to squeeze dreams out of us. Dreams and manifestation. I don't call them hope. Fuck hope. Hope is hoping. We know we are here to inherit this planet, to do it right, to take care of it, to use Ubuntu and the ancient Native American ways of not looking at land as something you own, but something you care for. You don't own this. You care for it. You don't drill in it. You don't frack in it. You care for it. You protect it. Because it's your home. You wouldn't shit in your fucking living room floor. So why are you doing it on the planet? That's what's happening. And so instead of getting depressed, trust me, I have moments where I cry. And then I have to remind myself, and I do, that it is the darkest before the dawn. And to hold on to that and to keep doing my meditations, to keep seeing the new earth and to keep seeing what this means and to remind myself that we've done this before. We've lived in 5D, technically. We forgot the terms. What the Native Americans were living, with the Aboriginals were living, with the Polynesians, it was 5D. There was no bullshit. There was no money or gold to fight for. There's stories in Africa and South America where there was such an abundance of gold. It was no more valuable. In Africa and South America where there was such an abundance of gold, it was no more valuable than copper. People wore it everywhere. So we have to kind of remember who we were to become who we're meant to be. And so when you don't think you're important, comment. There was a man who was called the N-word. He was a young man. And I said to him, it was a video actually that went viral. I even sent it to Tism or Tiz or whatever his name is. And I tagged this kid. The video kept being put down. And he was in Florida. I know you know the video. I spoke to this young man on the phone a couple times, and I said, you've got to do a GoFundMe. He ended up getting $150,000. Why is that important? He was called the N-word. Well, we're all called the N-word. There were a lot of people who were jealous going, well, that means I don't have to go to... I mean, it was just the jealousy. This was a young man. He was 21. And it was dangerous because he had been vilified by these people. He had just knocked on their doors, selling solar shit. Information. He wasn't even selling, just letting them know. Vilified by these people. He had just knocked on their doors, selling solar shit. Information. He wasn't even selling, just letting them know this is going to happen in your neighborhood. That was it. And he was threatened to be strange fruit. Threatened twice, not once. And, the video kept getting put down. And it needed, so the GoFundMe got him a new start. Is that wrong? No, of course it's not wrong. It's absolutely imperative. Community came together and he got an incredible nest egg to start. Maybe even fucking move out of Florida. Maybe move into an area that's better for him. Maybe move out of the country with his daughter. We are so fucking good for each other. We are so good. And we constantly show the world how we care for each other. All of us, the whole world, not just America. It's not an American thing. It's a human thing. We're either human rights, generous, loving, or we're not. And the fact that many people, more and more people, I'm into fucking buying, I don't know, what am I buying? Oh yeah, I'm buying leeks because I want potato leek soup. And the grocery guy's telling me there should be no billionaires. I didn't say anything. He said it. He's correct. It's not jealousy. Not at all. It's an imbalance. And it's cruel. When Oprah was out during the Maui fires, she went out with no makeup. I'm going to give you blankets. Write me a check, bitch, for $100,000 so I don't lose my land. The land that my people have had for fucking, I can't even count how many generations we own this land. Right? Before we even had a word for it. Ownership. Write me a check. Don't fucking bring me blankets. Fucking, my God. When Rock was doing this fundraiser, can you please donate 10 million? It's like, dude, you got 800 million. She's a billionaire. What the fuck are you asking any one of us? Those were the comments. And they were correct. When Rock went on stage, I forgot what it was for. He was booed. For a minute, he didn't hear it. He wasn't sure he was hearing a boo because he'd always been applauded, cheered, loved. The adrenaline must be amazing. The serotonin must be off the charts when you're on stage, when you're loved. He didn't compute. You could see his confusion, and suddenly, holy fuck, he realized, I'm being booed, like in shock. Yeah, dude, people are sick of your dumbass. $10 million? You're asking people who can barely fucking figure out anything? They're trying to figure out, listen, Zip is an online, it's kind of like Klarna, where you make payments on whatever purchase you want. Do you realize that people are buying groceries off Zip and Klarna? Do you know that? It's unhinged. What should cost $100 for 2 or 3 bags of groceries, right? It is like it can hit $250. I'm a vegetarian. I don't buy meat. So why is an eggplant damn near $350? Why is a leek $4.99 a pound? Do you understand? I'm a vegetarian, for fuck's sake. I'm not buying meat. You get me? So if I'm having a hard time as a vegetarian, I can't imagine those of you who actually really rely on animal protein. You're buying shit that's shit. I know that because I see it. I see old people buying racks of the cheapest chicken, right? And it's been put in bleach. You know that, right? And it's been processed in China and then brought back here. I don't even understand the logic, to be honest. Like, why are we sending chickens to another country, another fucking country? Just look at the map of how long it takes to process and to bring it back here and selling it for whatever, and meat's just sitting there. Why are we doing that to food? There was a British man who is on TT, and he was saying, we love America. We're so happy we're here. And he was selling a mineral compound. Swear to God, mineral compound. And we realized that, the food here, like we loved being here. Like, he didn't want to be bashed. He was so afraid. But he was trying to sell this mineral compound and said, yeah. And so we came here and we were depressed. We had no energy, blah, 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 blah. And then we started taking this mineral compound, and now we're all good. You understand? He came from England. I have a friend who lives in London. She tells me how much she pays for her groceries as opposed to me. She's a vegan, by the way, which is even more exact. And she's paying 1/4 what I'm paying. She lives in fucking London. 1/4. I live in the middle of Palookaville. You understand? And so it's no wonder people are fucking hungry. They're going hungry. And now suddenly in TT, there's a whole trend of how people ate during the Depression, how they made food during the rationing of the World War II. Rationing in America is not like rationing. Rationing in Europe was bad. My grandmother, I grew up with her stories on the rationing in Paris, France during the occupation. It was bad. Standing in line for 3-4 hours for a stick of butter for a family of 6. You know what I'm saying? And it's no joke. You got a lot of things that are being shown as if they're trying to, I don't know, program us to fucking actually accept this shit. And it's like, no, not acceptable. Absolutely not. No, we're actually going to move into the new earth. We're going to actually move into a new way of living. No, we don't want this. And you're important in that push, this beautiful transformation that is right here. And it's a decision you have to make. Only you can make it. I can't make it for you. I can talk to you. I can tell you what I've seen over the decades of this incarnation. And I can tell you that we've always had people who shouldn't have been starving, everyone, the play, Les Miserables, oh my God, Jean Valjean, he stole a loaf of bread and went to jail for 20 years. What's changed? And Colette sells her teeth, her hair, sending money to these fucks, right? What has changed? You have now a TV set and you have a phone. You have a computer and you have a car. And information travels at the speed of light. That's what's changed. The information travels at the speed of light. And we are unified collectively as a community already all over the world, except now we have to actually we have to literally build our houses around each other together. We have to fight each other, agree, form communities all over the world. There's no harm to anyone. Billionaire, my little billionaire friends out there, enjoy. Meanwhile, we're going to close our wallets and we're going to open our wallets to other things to build something that is lasting and that's going to heal us, heal our lineage, heal our children, heal our grandchildren. Close your wallets. Don't buy a fucking thing unless it's a mom and pop situation. Okay? Let's support each other. Let's now start creating schematics, spiritual ones, and in the material world of what these communities look like, what they offer, why they're good for humanity, and how they can stop this enclave, this concept of, normalizing oppression, disadvantaged people, uneducated people, genos, wars. It's not a match to 5D. Clearly. But I think we have to start, and that's my message. This is my second or third live where I've talked about that again and again and again. I wish right now, I did a tarot reading, just so you know, on the ascension and on our progress, and it was excellent, actually. And it talked more about, it was through the Pleiadians that had been talking to me. It was like, I channel all the time, but I had never channeled on a live. And in that, the Pleiadians and the Lyrans were talking about the limitations of our mind. It's on my YouTube. You can check it out. Follow me on YouTube. I'm being shadow banned like you have no fucking idea. I'm not victimizing myself. I'm being shadow banned like you have no fucking idea. I've never seen anything like it. And I think it's because I'm a human rights activist. They don't want that. Just keep in your lane, throw tarot cards, and shut the fuck up. And many of us, we can't do that. Just do tarot, talk about twin flames all day long. But see, I have actually deconstructed why twin flames have a runner chaser situation. I've deconstructed to some level of depth. So you understand why the infrastructure is toxic to the masculine and why it has harmed the ability for men and women to be in union. The journey is way too difficult. It's like they're showing me hip deep in quicksand. You're not going to make progress. You're going to regress when you do. And that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with systems that are so imbued in our society that we think it's normal. But Hans Christian Andersen, go look it up. The Little Match Girl. Look up this story. Read it to your children. Empathy. Sometimes beautiful souls are born with beautiful empathy, and sometimes beautiful souls are born and they need to be reminded of their innate empathy through these kinds of stories. And if you read that story to your child, they're going to ask you, why did none of the adults help the little girl? Do you realize that in the story you read it, you start seeing that there are people walking by, grown adults, grown women, grown men, walking by a little girl that clearly is not dressed for that winter, is skinny and cold and shivering, and they're walking by. Don't blame this lack of care on the internet. People were doing the same shit in the 1800s. They did not look. They would walk by. Okay? I think there's a famous scene in The Tale of Two Cities. It was the worst of time, it was the best of time. And I think it starts out with a coach that drives over a child. I don't even remember if the child lives or doesn't. I don't remember. But I remember that scene. People have always been that. Don't blame lack of compassion to the internet. You can blame porn on the internet. That's for sure. I'll agree. And the dark web. Absolutely. But not the lack of compassion. We've had that problem for hundreds of years. It has nothing to do with the internet. We have, like I said, a lot of assholes. But we also have really beautiful people. And it's amazing how these good people stand out like a beacon, like a fucking lighthouse in the middle of a stormy ocean. Like the Heretic Cafe. Heretic. Like the Cathars. I mean, I'm dropping a lot of stuff on you guys, but I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna take a walk. I'm gonna fucking stretch my legs and shake the cobwebs out of my heart, my soul, and just remember that there is a way. The path is clear. Again, it is the darkest before the dawn. You've done nothing wrong. You don't deserve suffering. None of us do. None of our brothers and sisters on the planet. The people in Sudan, the images of the Sudan haunt me. The images of Gaza haunt me, as they should. I'm not being low. Oh, I got to protect my energy. My energy is not being lowered by that. You know what it's doing? It's making me more urgent and realizing the energy, the frequency needs to go on a massive fucking overhaul. The waves of transformation are here. Again, you are seeing this so that you realize that this cannot continue. And you alone can make these changes with what you say, what you comment, like that guy saying, I don't know if it was a woman or a man saying, why don't you put a link so people can donate? And damn near within 10 days, there was 200 grand for the SNAP breakfast, for example. Something that simple, that simple. When I told that young kid who was called the N-word, I said, why don't you do a GoFundMe? And I was the first one to donate $20. I think it was $20. And boom, the ball started going. We need each other. but now we need to donate to our communities that we want to build. Okay? And you will be able to discern the idiots, the assholes, and the psychotic fucks that will be attracted to your light, and you will be able to bounce them out of your way. And you will bring in these amazing other people who are for real, who aren't full of shit, who really want what you want. Trust me. And trust yourself, most importantly. Trust your feelings. Okay? But thank you, my love. You're so sweet, Davina. I'd be interested to speak with you. You can DM me. I found your page searching Mary Magdalene. Oh, fantastic. How cool. Yes. It's good and bad. It always will be. No, it will not always be, actually. That's my point. Stop being brainwashed. This is a Stockholm syndrome that you're going through, and you need to recognize that. And you can't hold on to low frequency emotions like racism and judgment or even righteous anger. Righteous anger has its point, my friend. I know where you're coming from, and for some of you, righteous anger doesn't work. For me, it works. It works very well. That's why I've done so much in this incarnation. Righteous anger got me out of my mental wheelchair. So I disagree with you in that, but I think for you, maybe that's your truth, and that truth you must honor. Does that make sense? You must honor that in yourself. But for me, righteous anger is very much important. It's what gets me out of bed. It's what makes me move. It's what makes me write. I've written a book called Recall, which was it was banned by TikTok. And why was it banned? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the opening letter starts out, Gaza is under siege, and that was November 2023. By the way, when I wrote that forward author's note, I never knew, and it's a twin flame story. It's very erotic. It's very intense. I don't make any money. Trust me. It's through Amazon, unfortunately, and the reason is because I don't have the money yet to self-publish fully. So I had, my guy who's helping me said that's the only way we can do it, unless you can come up with like $3,000 or $4,000, at which point we can, independently print it and then sell it directly. But so I have to. I had no choice. The book itself is intense. And I had a client, actually, a person buy the book, and who was kind of overwhelmed by the sexuality in it. And you might ask yourself, well, why so much sexuality? Because it's what makes us tick. It's actually what makes us make harmful moves to ourselves. It's what drives self-harm to people, addiction and things of that nature, when the beginnings of their lives were wronged by adults that should have known better. It's sexuality in the ancient world was used by women to survive, to thrive and survive. Cleopatra being a famous example. Eleanor of Aquitaine being another example. Joan of Arc is probably the only woman who was a virgin until she wasn't. Okay, and she radicalized me as an 8-year-old girl. Believe it or not, her story radicalized me in really embracing the possibility of being a female and powerful. Okay, a female and powerful, and still in her Shakti energy. What does that mean? It doesn't mean sensual in this case. It means in her feminine softness, which they attempted to rip out of her. Okay, and again, she was betrayed by the machine. It's the machine that betrayed her. Okay, and so we need to kind of understand and stand with each other and not be jealous of each other. Our problem as a species has always been, and especially in women, and I'm going to say that. Why am I saying especially in women? Because we women have been more harmed by competing against women, and we had to compete against women to survive and to make sure that our progeny survived, or else they would not. And harems are probably the biggest example of the microcosm and macrocosm of feminine competition within the system, within the machine. Do you understand? And so when you study harems and you understand how harems were birthed, how women were enslaved, European women were being kidnapped. I don't know if you know the story, from Ireland, from France, from China, from Africa, whatever. And they became the head. The goal was to become the head wife. And then there was infanticide. There was all kinds of shit going on in harems. It was insane. It was insane. I don't know why, but I started reading a whole bunch of books about harems when I was like 13 and a half, 14. And it definitely past life memory. It must have been, because why else was I obsessed with that shit? But I was obsessed with harems and understanding the dynamics and the power struggles between that. So one of the things that Joan of Arc had to deal with, unfortunately, was jealousy. Jealousy, betrayal. If you don't know her story, you should read her story. In what she was able to accomplish in a very toxic patriarchal system. I swear to God, it was patriarchal, it was toxic, it was fucked, misogynistic off the ass, and like usual, she was betrayed by the very people who she tried to help, in this case, the French king. So, why am I saying all that? Because as we build communities, we need to be aware that some of these toxic traits that we have that seem benign right now, right now they're benign, right? Because they're kind of dormant. That's what I'll say. They're dormant, but it's in our DNA. Do you understand? It's like out there in our DNA. Do you understand? In some of the bloodlines we've taken on in this incarnation, for example. And we need to be aware, and we need to compassionately deconstruct those shadows. Because if we don't, we will start communities and they will implode from within, because we will not understand that our very shadows have not been healed. Does that make sense? That's the only way we're going to be able to have very beautiful communities that literally thrive for thousands of years. Does that make sense? But we have to, as women, start deconstructing that, and men eventually will able to follow the lead. I'm just going to be straight up. We are the womb. Okay, whenever we incarnate as women, we are the womb that not only holds cellular life, okay, but as soul. Eventually, the soul takes up the avatar, right? It says, okay, I'm taking this avatar. And I know this. I've done too many hypnotherapy sessions with clients all over the world. And I knew this before that, but when we take when we accept the body, we do it at various stages, and everyone's stage of taking on this avatar is different. Anyway, at some point, the soul is held within our womb. So now you've got two souls in that body, the one body. Why else would we understand the concept of the high priestess, right? So suddenly her womb is a temple, guarding, it's a grail, it's guarding this life that is developing within her body. And the soul is there. The soul of the child is there. And there's all this magic going on. So wouldn't it make sense that whenever we take on the incarnation of a woman, that we are the teachers to the masculine? And I'm sorry, you guys, if that offends you as men. Oh my God, no, of course you can teach. You've been a woman before, dude. But I'm going to give you an example. I had a client who I did hypnosis on. No, actually, excuse me. No, it wasn't that. It was an Akashic record reading that I did. In fact, I'm doing one today for a woman. But I'm very cautious about that, and I'll tell you why. But anyway, so this guy, he's a client of mine. He's fabulous. He's been my client for like 5 years now. And so he said, okay, let's do an Akashic. So I did one. And one of the incarnations, he was a Dutch milkmaid. I swear to God, I know it sounds totally fucking funny because I've never had one before. But there she was, 18th century. She got pregnant. And she died in childbirth. Blood everywhere, the whole thing. It was bad. It was a sad end. She probably at most was 18, 19 years old. And he could not hang with the fact that he had been a woman. No less a woman in childbirth, no less died in childbirth. Could not hang with that. I had another woman just to kind of balance it out. I didn't know this, by the way, but one of my clients told me, because it was her friend who came to me, she said she's having a hard time dealing with having been a man. So you can believe in reincarnation all the fucking you want, right? Look at India. They believe in reincarnation, but for some reason there's still a caste system. So make that make sense. Okay? And I've had many incarnations in India, trust me. But we're not asking, the concept of being irreverent to the status quo is so important right now. Did you hear what I just said? Am I being a heretic by saying, you guys believe in reincarnation, but you believe in the caste system, or what? Okay, so are you always being A Kshatriya, I'm mispronouncing it, the warrior race, the warrior class, and the Brahmins, or that's the only two fucking sector. Come on, man. You've been Chinese, you've been African, you've been fucking Polynesian, you've been all these races. What are you talking about? So, the woman is the teacher. Now, do we have women that are fucking psychopaths? Yeah, we do. We know. We have, but so you have a psychopath with a lethal weapon. What is the lethal? Her womb. Because she's having children, right, or whatever, and she's abusing her own children. Okay, there are women like that, and that is heretical. It's sacrilegious. It's blasphemy. When you're a woman and you are blessed with this body, because we are the lucky ones, you take that shit seriously as a high priestess. You walk the high priestess path. You don't walk the psychopath sadist path, though many do. So we are the teachers. And men who fucking know and are very comfortable with their inner female, what does that mean? You've been a woman before. You've been made love to by a man before. You've loved a man before. You know what it's like to be a woman being made love to or making love to your man, because you've been a man before. And this is why we are essentially, many of us, to be fair, bisexual in nature. In nature. It's a memory. And some of us choose not to be anything else but heterosexual. Some of us choose to be bisexual. And some of us choose to love only one gender. And that's it. We go with the same gender. Do you understand? It's a choice, really, in some cases. In some cases, yes, some people have the wrong body. They're born in what I would quote unquote the wrong body. I get that. I've known that since I was a kid. But it's not hard to understand why. Being souls, we're nomads, for Christ's sakes, as souls. We're nomads. We've been everywhere. We've done damn near everything. And empathy is when you've mastered the emotion of compassion without having to experience the pain. You don't have to be an 18-year-old teenage mother of a 2-year-old. There's no money, there's no food in the pantry, and your kid hasn't eaten in 2 days. You don't have to live that life to know that that is wrong, and you will do whatever you can to make that stop for this young mother and her child. It means that we have had so many incarnations, we've had so many experiences, that empathy is innate. I don't have to be in the Sudan to fear being violated, to fear for my children's life. I don't have to live like that to know it must stop. This is wrong. It's outrageous. So righteous anger has its purpose. Angel Michael has righteous anger. And all of us have roles. And we're not here to judge people on how they fucking move on this planet. We have indigo kids that are, and by the way, we've had indigos being born. We're not here to judge people on how they fucking move on this planet. We have indigo kids that are, and by the way, we've had indigos being born for fucking hundreds of years. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It's not, oh, they were born in the 70s. No, they were here. They were the ones kicking indigos being born for fucking hundreds of years. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It's not, oh, they were born in the 70s. No, they were here. They were the ones kicking. This ends now, right? So we have those people that are needed. We have those that are up in the mountains of the Himalayas and Bali and France, in Plum Village right now, where Thich Nhat Hanh used to live, before he passed, one of the great sages of our time and teachers, a man who are in meditation. And the meditation is a vibration of frequency that is keeping the planet from fucking the Schumann resonance. Have you seen it in the last 24, 48 hours? I'm just saying. So we are, as a matter of fact, the Schumann, the Schumann resonance is it 7.83? That's the frequency of the planet. Now, what is 7.83 in numerology? Well, it's 18. 18 is spiritual material conflict. 18 in tarot is the moon, confusion. How do I go? It's walking in knowing I am, as long as my heart is my compass of truth, as long as my heart comes from a place of integrity, and I follow my heart, not my mind, not my logic, not 3D, my heart. My heart says do this, and I follow without full clarity and question. And I follow. And I will not know the full extent of where I'm going until it is revealed. And that's what I call the unspoken knowing. And I know I'm safe, and I know I'm being divinely guided, and I know I have divine appointments, and I know. How do you know? I don't know, but I know. It's called the unspoken knowing. It's not faith. Faith is, I hope to God this fucking works out. And you could argue the point with me, but I'm not going to. I know how religion has used certain terms, English, French, and Latin, Greek, whatever, to kind of waylay us off the track of what these words originally were meant to mean to us. So now we have to come up with new terms, with new vibrational egregores to launch a new pathway for us. So the unspoken knowing means I know. How do you know? I don't know, but we'll be fine. It's funny because it's in the movie Shakespeare in Love, where he's got his feet at the I forgot what the director producer of the Playhouse of the Rose. He's got his feet over the fire. And he's talking to Shakespeare, and he says, "Well, how do you know it's going to work out?" "I don't know, but it always does." "Well, how do you know?" It always does. I think it's because they've just closed the theater for pestilence, for the Black Plague. And he's like, "How are we fucking going to do the play?" He goes, "I don't know. They'll open up eventually." "Well, how do you know?" "I don't know, but it's going to happen." So it's this belief that no matter what's in front of you, that it's all going to work out, that you're going to be fine. And so, but you have to add to it. So instead of us just, accepting, I remember with something that my father wrote, never settle for a beer. Yeah, never settle for a beer when you can actually don't settle. Fuck it. I want new earth. I want community. I want freedom. I don't want to be in a world where my worth is calculated by how many zeros I have in my bank account. I don't mean minus zeros. I mean plus zeros, like, billions. I don't want that. And for those of you who still want the Chanel bag and the private jet and the high heel shoes and by Christian Louboutin, trust me, I'm a fashion major. So I know fashion. And I know its place, what fashion was in couture. But I also know that I would give that up all gladly. I would. For the new earth, to not see people suffer, to my own people not suffering, and for us to thrive and smile and laugh and connect. We're fucking lonely. We're a planet of fucking lonely people. Except some Americans, and I will say this, are going to Europe going, holy fuck. These are not lonely people in some parts of Europe, like Spain. There's some communities, some cities, some towns, some countries, right, in Europe, where you better be part of the community or else they won't trust you. It's not about privacy. It's about, do you want to be part of this? Because if you want to be a lone wolf, we're not for you, right? And personally, I don't want to be a lone wolf anymore. I've done it for too long. I'm not into it anymore. I never was into it, to be honest, but it was all there for me to learn, and I'm grateful for every step I've taken, so I'm not complaining. But at this point now, it feels more like I need to move on, into community, into Ubuntu. So anyway, so this picture is poverty. And yet she's smiling at her grandchild. She's smiling down at her grandchild. There's a flame between them, passing the baton, passing the flame. And poverty ends when we no longer consume from the machine. Okay? When we stop consuming from the machine. So yeah, for Christmas, close your wallets. You know what I mean? And I would, again, find and seek people who have their own website who are selling beautiful little goods, hand knit socks, hand knit. That means probably, I said Etsy, but I meant the concept of Etsy without giving these machines the money, or unfortunately for now, Etsy and Poshmark, because you are buying directly from people who are using those systems to promote. Like right now, I'm selling stuff on Poshmark, but I will not sell on eBay. You know what I mean? I will not. It's too big of a machine. And I won't sell on whatchamacallit. Try to find some books. Many of the books that I buy are from Thrift Books. And the Salvation Army sells books on Thrift Books. A lot of charities go on Thrift Books to sell their books, okay? And you're helping little communities all around the country. So if there's a book you like and it's on Amazon, I highly recommend you then go look on eBay, because if you really find a better deal on eBay, you're still giving the mom and pop some money, even though eBay is getting a massive chunk of it, but you're still giving them something. But I would recommend Thrift Books. You know what I mean? For example, or Abbey Books. And I don't know enough about Abbey Books to tell you, but in the old days, in 1999, Abbey Books was good. I used to buy my books from Abbey Books, but I would go Thrift Books. That's where I get most of my books. And all of my books are used. I don't buy brand new books. I just don't do that. And when I used to live in a city next to a public library, they always have sales of their books. 25 cents, 30 cents. I kid you not. Well, in those days it was true. It could be those days are gone, but maybe the books are each $2, $2.50 each. And you can buy some really beautiful esoteric books. Definitely a lot of children books for your kids. And, or for yourself. Children books that you probably want to read. I think we need to do better moving forward. This holiday season, I talked about Aldi's, ALDI, that's selling turkey dinners for $40. I kid you not. I've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it until Thanksgiving, Christmas, so that you guys can go look if you got, or tell people that you love that is available for you. I keep saying the same thing again and again so that you know where to go. And but many of us who are in the spiritual community, many of us who are in the political venue, who are talking about politics, who are talking about social change and evolution, we're being shadow banned. I have a friend of mine. Well, he's not a friend. He's like a TT friend. And he does a lot of ChatGPT, spiritual talk. He's being shadow banned. I can tell because you'll see him. I'll repost some of his videos quite often because you'll see him. He's kind of tall. He's got a really sweet face. He's bald. And he'll have, right now he's interviewing a blonde woman. I need to find where else he's interviewing. I don't know if he has a YouTube page. I have to look again. I don't think he did when I last saw his profile page. But the point is, there's all kinds of spiritual talk through ChatGPT. You know what I mean? And even though I'm not using it for my, at all, because of what I know about it, he's doing good work. But he's definitely being, a lot of the people who are really, really talking real fucking spiritual shit, I mean, really spiritual truth, not shit, obviously, but truth, I'm noticing they don't have the viewership. They don't have people aren't following them like they should. Like they should be at 50,000 followers, and they're not. They're not, and there's a reason. So the ones that are really speaking, in my opinion, are being shadow banned. And the people that are just talking fucking nonsense, they're telling me to say so. Bashar is on my shit list and been for a long time because of the fact that I know, like, if you're going to listen to someone who transmits, who channels, I highly recommend Lee Harris. Lee Harris. Roxanne's another one. She's a transgender. Her name is Roxanne, and she has a website. She's on YouTube, Roxanne, and she channels. And I first came across her channel, her channeling back in 2020, excuse me, and she was on Gaia.com being interviewed by Rudy. And she talks about her journey of being a man, car salesman. I think it was New Jersey, and how she came out, and then suddenly how just she started channeling, and she was going through her change, from being a man to a woman, and all the change that happened to her, and she started channeling, and she channels. She says her future self, highly evolved. She's channeled a cuneiform, I'm going to say pictogram language that's very complex, and I think it's from I think it was cuneiform actually, and I think it was verified. But my point is, she's the real deal. She's not viral. So the people in the spiritual community, and I feel like I'm talking shit, and in a way, I guess I am. You could say that, but that's not where I'm coming from. I'm saying the people who are really fucking like Regina Meredith, I think she's kind of changing. It could be that she's exhausted. I don't know, but there's some changes that I'm sad about with her. But she's not famous like she should be. Because when I say Regina Meredith, everybody in the spiritual community should know her name, and they don't. Okay? Cindy Dale should be famous. Most of you don't even know who Cindy Dale is, and it's not your fault. But Cindy Dale has written the fucking Gutenberg Bible of chakras. It's fucking the size of a fucking Bible. I'm not joking. And she's written many, many books on chakra work, healing chakra through cancer, healing chakra through various modalities of challenges and modalities of approach through the chakras, okay? Most people in the spiritual community don't even know who the fuck she is. You see, that's where I'm coming from. Okay, I'm not here to talk shit about people, but I really need you to discern the difference between assholes who are posing and real fucking light beings who are doing the work and who are and not even known the way they should be. They're still making money, don't get me wrong. They're not starving by any stretch. Well, I don't know. I'm assuming they're not starving. They don't look like they are, but the point is, they're doing okay, but they do not have 5 million people following them, much less a million, much less fucking 10,000. That's my point. See, that's to me, that's a big concern. Right now, me and my partner are doing. She started launching on the Twin Flame class, and the reason why we're doing it is because it's insane. It's insane what's being taught. It's a lie. What's being taught. The only person that fucking actually knows anything that's still alive is Cassidy with Twin Flames 1111. She's probably, honestly, that's the only. I used to mention other people, and I've had people come back to me going, check this out, and I'm like, oh fuck, okay, sorry. So I'm not going to mention them here, but Twin Flame 1111, Cassidy, she's the goat. Actually, she actually is. And my partner and I, Andromeda Flames, are working on this class, so that'll be good. And then, but in terms of just human rights is a spiritual path. I mean, and human rights are entangled with politics. See, therein lies the issue. Famine in other countries is political. And us ending famine in other countries is a spiritual work. That when we have to be aware of the political system that creates that, so that we can spiritually shift it. Why do we have to know about it? Well, because if you're not aware of what's going on in a country, or in this country, or any country for that matter, you're not able to spiritually. If you don't know what the fuck's going on, how the hell are you going to clear the energy? You need to know you have blockages in your root chakra, right? You need to feel it, know about it, or be told to, maybe your Reiki master says, hey, you've got some blockages, I'll work it out, but you need to continue the work on your own. You need to know. And then you can work on that to make sure that the blockages is dissolved. So it's not so complicated, but it seems to me that it is very complicated for people to understand that a human rights spiritual journey has multiple branches to its tree. And eventually we want to simplify it so that we are not coerced into thinking that it's been like this all along and it always will be. And I have done, my last live was about how it was not like that. 1,000 years ago, the Native Americans did not suffer like they do now. In fact, no one in this landmass suffered like we do now. They were free. I've mentioned it in detail. I've mentioned it again and again. Stop thinking this is normal. It isn't. 3,000-4,000 years ago, people lived with freedom. And we had the few fucks that wanted more land or more resources, more sheep, more goat, more women. I keep bringing up the Sabine women. Look up the Sabine women. Sabine women, and how Rome was actually formed. So these templates, okay, of violence and oppression and subjugation we do not consent when we dissolve them to create what was before then, when the woman was equal to the man, when the warriors and the hunters revered the divine sacred feminine, and she revered him. There was a balance that got fractured. And then came these deviant templates, very deviant templates, that we have normalized. And these deviant templates are, I do not consent. Do you? Do you consent? But to say it's always been is a lie. It hasn't been. All right, my loves, I'm going to let you go. I will upload this on YouTube, and I will speak to you soon. Namaste, be well.